Hey guys, it's Sasha. Everyone seems to want to be mortgage free. Every YouTube channel out there talking about personal finance makes videos about how you can pay your mortgage off early. The FIRE movement will tell you that you need to pay your mortgage off as fast as possible, and Dave Ramsey will tell you that all mortgages are evil and they're going to make you poor.
I own several $100 million in real estate, and I pay cash for every bit of it.
The funny thing is that all of this advice is wrong. It just isn't correct. The numbers do not stack up. And in this video, I will show you how bad it is, how wrong those numbers are. If the average family goes and repays their 30-year mortgage in just 10 years, they would actually be $800,000 poorer. That is a huge amount of money. That is a life-changing amount of money. It is the difference between just about making it in retirement and having hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra disposable income. So let me show you exactly why overpaying your mortgage is a bad idea. Let's take an average house worth $250,000. It can be in dollars, it can be in euros, it can be in pounds. It doesn't really matter. The principle applies wherever it is that you happen to live and whichever currency symbol you use. Let's assume that over time, your average mortgage rate is 3%. Sometimes it's going to be higher, other times it's going to be lower like it is at the moment. So let's say that a typical family will take out a mortgage for that $250,000 at 3% and then pay it off after 30 years. That is a super common example, so let's use that as a baseline. Now, let's say that that family decides to make a 10% overpayment on their mortgage. So instead of just paying $1,049 per month, which is what the regular repayments will be, they're now going to be paying $1,153 per month. Not a huge difference, and if you are tight with your budget, you can definitely do it, right? Well, if you do that, then your 30-year mortgage will actually clear in less than 26 years. So that is a quite good saving, and in the process, you're going to save $19,378 in interest. Sounds great, right? Well, I'm going to tell you why it's not great at all in just a minute. Now, over here, I have another scenario where the family instead decide to take it up a notch and they're going to make huge overpayments and they're going to pay more than double the amount per month, just over $2,400, so that the whole mortgage can be cleared in just 10 years, because almost every video out there goes and tells you that paying it off in 10 years is the thing to do. Amazing! You are going to save $88,360 in interest. That is a huge amount of money, right? Wrong. The truth is, in both of these scenarios, you are actually going to lose money. That's right. By repaying your mortgage early versus not doing it, you are going to be losing money. Let me show you exactly how the 10% overpayment scenario works in a bit more detail so that you can understand the numbers behind it. In this scenario, the family is paying an extra $105 per month on top of their regular monthly mortgage payment so that they can repay it 4 years earlier. And that saves them the $19,378 in interest over that time frame. But what if that family instead took that $105 and just invested it instead? Nothing fancy, no crazy returns, nothing ridiculous, no stock picking, just put it into the S&P 500 index or the total stock market index, something like that. Basic, no choosing. Every month, put $105 into the market instead of paying it into the mortgage. Now, an average rate of return for investing into the market over time is about 9% over decades and decades. So let's just go with that. Let's use 9% as the average. Let's assume that instead of overpaying the mortgage, the $105 is invested every single month for 30 years. Those monthly deposits will add up to $37,000 over time. And those investments are going to grow by $140,000 if we use that 9% average rate, for a total investment portfolio of $178,483. That is a bit better than the $19,378 that you would save in interest by repaying your mortgage, right? Well, there's actually a bit more to it. Remember that if you repay your mortgage early, you will have 4 years at the end where you don't make any repayments whatsoever. And because the investing option that I'm comparing it to takes 30 years, it is only fair to assume that at the end, once if you repay the mortgage, you're then going to go and spend 4 years and 1 month investing an amount equal to your monthly repayment into the stock market, so that we're comparing like for like. Then at the end of the 30-year period, you're going to have $68,362 worth of investments. In this example, you can actually completely ignore the interest savings on the mortgage because in both cases, in the case when you repaid early, in the case when you don't, you actually have spent the exact same amount of money per month in terms of leaving your account, if that makes any sense. The amount that is left your bank account is identical. And at the end, both options leave you with a fully paid off house that you own. And in the case where you make the 10% overpayments, you also have $68,000 worth of investments. But in the case where you didn't make any overpayments, you have $178,000 worth of investments. So you have $110,000 more. That's almost half the cost of the entire house in the first place. Now, let's look at the really popular example next. The example of repaying a house in 10 years. It gets much, much worse. If you up your monthly mortgage repayments and repay the whole mortgage in just 10 years and then invest the equivalent of your monthly payment into the stock market, you're going to have your house plus $1.5 million worth of investments. That is not bad at all. That is a pretty good place to be because you've been making all those extra payments, right? But if instead of making those overpayments, you continued just slowly repaying your house over the 30 years and you took that extra money that you were putting in your mortgage and instead go and invest it, then at that point, you would have your house and $2.3 million. That's $777,000 more than if you made the overpayments. That is a huge, huge difference. Now, let me cover one really important thing. If your monthly mortgage payments are a huge burden, if you can't sleep at night thinking about your monthly payments, if you feel tense because of those payments, it is really affecting your life. Then, if repaying your mortgage early frees you from all of that burden and you feel great, then that can be more important than money. I do get that, but it is really important that you do understand that if you choose that option, then you will lose hundreds of thousands of dollars or pounds or euros in the process. And if I'm honest, if you are in that position where you can theoretically repay your 30-year mortgage in just 10 years by making huge overpayments, I reckon you probably aren't actually that stressed about your mortgage payments because you are paying so much more every single month. And here's the best bit. In that last example where we're talking about repaying your mortgage in 10 years, if instead you took the slow 30-year repayment route instead and took all that extra money and put it into the stock market, then on average, after 8 years and 4 months, you will actually have more in your investment portfolio than the total balance of your mortgage at that point. Just 8 years and 4 months. Yeah, so if at that point you really, really wanted to, you can still go and cash your investments in, repay your mortgage, and you're going to repay your mortgage considerably sooner than if you took the option of directly repaying it, which will take 10 years, remember, instead. So the likelihood at that point is that you're probably not particularly worried about your mortgage repayments because at any point, you can go and clear your mortgage whenever you want to just by cashing some of your investments in. And at that point, if you're not doing it, then you're choosing not to do it because you're choosing to grow your money at a faster rate than you would otherwise have been able to do. In essence, you have a situation where the bank is lending you money at a low rate of 3%, and you can then go and put that money to work to earn you 9%. So yes, you do have to pay the 3% in interest, which is the only bit that most people seem to talk about or focus on, but you get to actually earn 9% if you go and reinvest that money instead of paying down your mortgage, keeping the 6% for yourself. And yes, the stock market is volatile. Yes, that's true. There are crashes. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But over time, those rises and falls average out. And 30 years is a very long time. And because you're putting money into the stock market every single month, you will average out and you will ride out those waves and bumps, and you are actually going to be getting a somewhat average rate of return because you're not trying to time the market. Some of the money you'll deposit during the high periods, some will be right at the bottom of the market, and those will average out to ensure that those fluctuations do not specifically affect your return. One important thing to remember is that this logic only applies to low-cost, long-term debt. If you have any kind of high-cost credit or credit cards at 18.9% or 25% or whatever, you do absolutely need to go and repay because that debt is a priority. Every time you repay that debt, you are essentially getting a 25% annualized return on your money. Toxic debt is bad and can really suffocate you if you don't work hard to get rid of it. However, if you make payments towards your mortgage, you only get a 3% return on your money. That's the rate of the debt that you are covering with your repayment. So if you can get a 9% return on your money instead by putting it somewhere else, in instead of using that 3% option, why would you choose the lower option instead? If you know that you're going to be $800,000 worse off, do you still want to be mortgage free in 10 years? Hopefully that gives you some food for thought, and maybe next time you see one of those videos telling you how you can repay your mortgage in just 10 years, you might just look at it a little bit differently. Thank you very much for watching, I really appreciate it, and as always, I'll see you guys later.